Okay, welcome everyone. I'll begin by acknowledging the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community. Councillor McNabb. I'll begin by acknowledging the continuing connection of Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, including traditional custodians of this land, the Wadandi and Kaniang people of the Noongar Nation, paying respects to elders past and present. I declare the briefing session open at 5 p.m. A reminder that this session is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council Policy EMCP2. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. Whilst every endeavour is made to only record those who are actively participating in the meeting, loud noises or comments may be picked up on the recording. Agenda briefing sessions are open to the public for attendance and observation. But please note that questions and petitions are to be formally presented at the ordinary council meeting. Deputations may be received during agenda briefing sessions in accordance with the council procedures. There will be no debate-style discussion during the agenda briefing, as this needs to take place in the ordinary meeting of council when the issue is set for decision. Attending tonight are Councillor Tyler Hall, Councillor Anita Lindeman, Councillor Reggie Keown, Councillor Amanda McNabb, Councillor Grant Patrick and Councillor Leanne Ringe. And I'm Councillor McCarthy, Shire President. Staff President this evening, Chief Executive Officer Nick O'Connor, Director of Finance and Community Colin Young, Director of Operations Ross Marshall, and Administration Officer Corporate Services Samantha Farquhar, and Simon Pepler, Manager Community Services. I welcome everyone who is participating via the live stream. Executive Manager Corporate Lauren Clifford is an apology for this evening. She's on annual leave. Is that right? At item 4, we can move straight through to item 4, Declarations of Interest. Division 6, Subdivision 1 of the Local Government Act 1995 states that care should be taken by all councillors, committee members and staff to ensure that a financial or impartiality interest is declared and that they refrain from voting on any matter which is considered to come within the ambit of the Act. Do councillors have any declarations to make? Moving through to item...
just through the Shire President.
Yes. Councillor Ringe.
Sorry, application for leave of absence is 2.3. I will need to lodge one, so I guess I'll put it in writing and send it through for the meeting next week.
And then we would endorse that at the OCM.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like a great holiday coming up. To item 6.3, deputations. Mr Chris Amey will be presenting a deputation on behalf of Save Preston River Valley in relation to item 9.3.5, and this will be presented at the ordinary council meeting next week. There are no delegates' reports at 6.4, which takes us into confirmation of minutes. The first item 7.1.1 is the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of March 2026. Are there any questions? And then moving on to reports of committees. At 8.1.1, the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting. Are there any questions? Moving into 8.2.1, the Bunbury Geograph Group of Councils meeting. CEO, did you need to comment?
Just very briefly, through you, Shire President, just 2 items I wanted to raise. So out of those minutes, councillors would note that Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up's membership is formally being accepted and recognised. But I think you would have noted that as part of the draft governance arrangements moving forward, obviously we're no longer going to be a contributing member financially. However, there's a proposed waste management committee, so a subcommittee is part of that, of the Bungeo group of councils, and I understand our shire is going to be invited to be a member of that as well. So that provides us an opportunity to continue the great work we've been doing with our neighbouring councils on FOGO and coming up with a collective solution on the FOGO moving forward. So it's great that whilst we've withdrawn our membership, that we still have an opportunity to collaborate with the Bungeo councils.
Thank you, CEO. Any questions?
Thank you. You answered the question I was most interested in. But does that require any payment, or are we just going to continue to collaborate?
Continue to collaborate. There's no payment required.
Any other questions? Okay, moving into reports of officers. Director of Operations at 9.1.1, the Donnybrook Transit Park upgrades and remedial works. Director of Operations, Mr. Roscoe Marshall, would you like to introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. And Sam, can I ask you just to bring up the photos in the attachment? And I'll probably tidy up this report a little bit too, councillors, and take out the first item because I just wanted that in there for transparency. Just to let you know that we're not double dipping. So we've got a council resolution to basically go and do some investigation work down at the transit park. We've done that. Probably found what we didn't want to find. And I think the photos, if I can look up at the board, you'll see what is evidence of some long-term major water damage as a result of a couple of issues. The main one being the floor to tile joint not being sealed correctly when it was first built, or just relying on silicon. It was built in 2007, so you could throw a stone and say there's lack of maintenance as well, so I'll put that out there. But I guess we didn't really understand what was happening in that joint. We've now worked out what is happening. There wasn't one. Those walls are completely compromised, very unsafe. So I took the CEO down there to show him sort of the extent of it, and we could patch it up for probably half that price, or we could do it properly and never have to visit again with any of us sitting at this table. So, and that's what I prefer to do. So just being open and honest with you, we did get some funds through a previous council resolution. I'd like to put those funds towards the balance of what I'll need to go and carry out the works to completely remedy the issue that's there. And that includes replacing the plastic pipework that's in way of the works with copper as well, so we don't have that future issue of pipes splitting, which in my opinion is a result of the plastic pipes being exposed to the radiated heat off the low roof. It's just not built for that. So, other than that, I did also put in there quite a long-winded scope of works, but again, I just wanted you to understand sort of what's involved. There's quite a bit happening there, and it wasn't as detailed in the quote that I received. I will take that out of the report and put that back into my notes again, just to, it was more there for transparency, but I'll take away from the main report because it's in the attachment. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Mind if I just ask another question? Yep. So through you, Chair, might get Mr Young maybe just to explain where we're going to find those funds from, with an emphasis, I guess, on that we're not dipping into our building reserves. So do you mind just making a comment there, Mr Young?
Yes, we've had a look and we've got excess money in the Currap Hall, and that we've had from an underspend over there, so all the works are completed. We're not going to need all the funds, so we'll transfer it from that job over to this job, so we don't have to touch reserves or have any impact on the end of year position.
No, over towards Colin. He's having to speak away, but he's speaking away from it. Oh, have you finished? Thank you. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Just two questions. In the report, it says that it's intended to be done during off-peak season, and therefore that'll reduce the impact. Do we have any indication of how long it'll be offline?
Yeah, through the chair. We estimate 2 months, but obviously we'll try and get it done a lot quicker than that. So hence why we've got all the trades ready to go, and to be honest, we've actually blocked out May and June. I'm really hoping that we don't need June. But have to be realistic because of the booking system. So, you know, if we do let people start booking in June, then they're going to expect to be using it. And I don't really want to manage the fallout from having to cancel bookings into June. So, but to answer your question honestly, we're hoping to get it done in 4 weeks. But anyone doing building at the moment, it's difficult, and it's difficult for our trades. You know, it's really hard for them. So I don't want to be critical of them, but we certainly need to have some time contingency to help them out.
Councillor Patrick?
Thank you. My other question is just around the quote. So the report refers to the fact that there's quotes there. The quote that's been provided in the attachments looks like it's a summary that we've typed up, not a formal quote from a provider. Is that correct? And is that sort of, because it's estimated, so it's not a formal quote. So I'm just trying to understand how that's come about. And is it, you know, an average, has it been averaged out between quotes, or how have we come about these estimates as against a formal quote?
Yeah, through the chair, you won't get a fixed price quote from a contractor for this type of works. So that's why it is an estimate, and that's why there's a contingency added. Obviously, I'll provide some oversight with that. I guess my comfort is in the fact that they're trusted trades, the trades that we plan to use. We know them quite well, they know us quite well. That type of work is pretty hard to put a fixed price on it because of, we're going to open up other walls and ceilings and we don't know what we're going to find. To be honest, the contract that's provided that quote, the details have been redacted. Most of the time, they're really quite on the money. You know, if they tell us it's going to be $1,000, then it's $1,000. So, pretty good track history, I should say. And in fact, sometimes I think they overquote because then they come in less, which is always quite pleasant. But yeah, I still would have the caveat there that there is some latent conditions, and if anything happens, I'll keep you informed.
Thank you. Councillor Lindeman?
Thank you, through the chair. You've got a 20% contingency, but they're talking 30 and 40% in building materials and so forth at the moment going up. That's what they're expecting. Will you come back to us if you exceed this 10,920 contingency? Will you be coming back if that's necessary before proceeding?
Thank you.
Through the chair, what I'll do is within the if there's a material difference, yes, I'll come back. If it's within a reasonable amount that we can cover in any surplus that Colin and I might be able to establish, then we won't. But if it's material, absolutely, yeah. And we should be able to do that pretty early because the first thing we're going to do is the demolition. So we'll find out the full extent of what's going on. And that means that I can come back to you in the May OCM ahead of time. And maybe if I need to, I'm just thinking aloud, if we need to formalise it, we can formalise it at the May OCM, but I'll talk to you before that.
And
Councillor
yeah,
Lindeman?
and the expected loss of revenue for that month to 2 month period, if unable to direct to the bailing up transfer?
Would Director of
Bailing up
Finance
caravan
be
park?
able to answer that? The impact on revenue?
I would have to take that on notice, I'm afraid.
May I, Chair?
Yes.
That is part of the comms that we're going to put out on it. So obviously we've requested that you provide the CEO direction to do that. We've also opened up another 6 camping bays at Bailing Up as well, which will be quite handy. So yeah, obviously we'll promote Bailing Up as the alternative.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Just one more question.
Councillor Ringe?
Sorry, we're going to promote Bailing Up. I know it's a commercial business, but there is a caravan park in Curup as well. Give them the choice, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll just leave that one alone for President.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to short and sweet for Director of Operations in this agenda. Director of Finance and Community. And item 9.2.1, schedule of accounts paid as at the 31st of March 2026. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Look, I have already, only just before the meeting, asked a couple of questions which have been taken on notice, but that's just about clarification around EFT 32766. which just says Doug Cross Electrics replace circuit breakers, ceiling and exhaust fans and so on. Doesn't specify for where, but that has been clarified that that is the annual servicing across the entirety of the Shires, or a part payment of all of the Shire's, required buildings across the Shire, so it's not a particular site. Is that correct, Roscoe?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct, councillor. So what we do each year is we do safety checks, particularly on RCDs and generally on our switchboards. We also test all of the smoke alarms. We also test all of the emergency lighting systems across all 130 odd buildings. That is a part payment for the works that are in progress. There will be more, but that's part of our program, so part of our budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the
Councillor
other one,
Patrick.
the other one with that, which I have asked, which has been taken on notice, is just EFT 32800, supply and lay limestone blocks for retaining wall. But there's no detail as to where, what or why. So they've got that one on notice to come back to us. Thanks.
I can answer that.
Thank you, Director of Operations.
Through the chair, thank you, councillor Patrick. We just actually had a quick look and we've found what that is and reminded myself what that was for. Some drainage works that we've carried out up near the cemetery area, so Bond Street area. We've just combating some drainage issues and flooding issues that we've had over a number of years, and part of that was some localised retaining just to, when there's like a real short flood event, rather than the water running through someone's property, we've built like a small swale using retaining limestone blocks, and that's what that's for.
Any further questions? Moving on to item 9.2.2, the monthly financial report for the period ending 31st of March 2026. And Director of Finance and Community, Mr. Young, will you be taking us through that report?
Thank you. Through the chair. Yes, the financials are running pretty much on track as we'd expect at this time of year. Actually, they're really, really close to running within budget. The operating revenues 1.96% over budget, which is very close. I expect that will end the year pretty close to dead on budget, because it's operating grants that are over budget at the moment, so that's going to come out in the wash. The operating expenditure is running about 2% on the budget. I would expect we'll have some form of a carry forward there, so that'll come in on the budget, and we'll probably have about 300,000 to 400,000 worth of carry forward, which will mainly be tied to consultant work and project work that hasn't been carried out. Capital revenues, well on the budget at the moment. It's tied to capital works, so it's, as it would be good to have all the works carried out and the revenue in, it's only going to carry forward to the next year because it's tied to capital works. So it's okay. It's probably would be better if we had the capital works carried out and we had the grant funded in the bank, but that's not the case, but it will carry forward. Same with the capital projects are on the budget, and we do expect to have some carry forwards. What has been carried out year to date is all pretty good, pretty much on budget. There's some small overs and small unders that all net each other out. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Again, sorry, everyone else. I just had a question around, and I've just moved away from it. Investing activities. So it says inflows from investing activities is 20.7% below the year-to-date budget estimates, and refer to note 3 in the other documentation. Could you give us a bit of an explanation around that? So I've sort of reviewed that note 3, and it talks about some of the stuff with the VC Mitchell and different grants, but can you just give us a bit of an overview on that 20.7 below budget, please?
Director of Operations.
Yes, I'll just get my...
Oh, sorry. Finance. You could wing it. If it was the grass. I feel like we can take it on notice.
we'll take that one on notice and I'll give it to you next week.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Lindemann.
Is this report part of the Auditor General, Caroline Spencer, confirming that the Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up is one of the 2025 best practice entities for our financial reporting controls?
I'd just like to let the CEO talk about that one. I was going to say at the end of this one, but I think we might do something differently. Yeah, we'll do something differently. Okay. A good news day. Yep. Deserves a big voice. Moving on to item 9.2.
I have a question.
Councillor Ringe. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Thank you, President McCarthy. I've just got a question in regards to, obviously there's some variances between the budget and actuals, and a lot of it is to do with timing issues. Just looking at page 14 of the report, disposal of assets, there's 2 items of land. There's a parcel in Reserve Street and there's another one at Southwest Highway. It's in the budget, but it's not in the actuals yet. And my question is, how likely is it, because the financial year's ticking away, how likely is it that the settlement will be before 30th of June, that those proceeds will be in before 30th of June?
Thank you, Councillor Ringe.
Through the Chair, if I may, the settlement has been arranged for the 1st of July, so it won't be before the 30th of June. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 9.2.3, the rescinding policy for building insurance. Are there any questions? No? On to 9.2.4, rescinding the policy for employee recreation centre subsidy. Any questions? Then moving on to item 9.2.5, review of the capped court hire arrangements for sporting clubs. And our
Mr Pepler,
Mr. Roll,
Manager of Community
Manager of Community Services, Mr. Simon Pepler, will come up and take us through this report.
Thank you, Madam President. Hello, afternoon, councillors. So I'm just going to give you a quick briefing on the current arrangement that we have with our sporting clubs at the Donnybrook Recreation Centre and usage of the stadium. So historically, we've got a capped fee arrangement for our 2 main stakeholder groups that reside within Donnybrook. That's the Donnybrook Basketball Association and the Donnybrook Netball Association. And going back to a resolution from 2021, they've got a capped fee arrangement, but what we're finding is that the usage of the stadium is becoming extremely popular and there's a lot of vying for space. With that in mind, with our 2 main stakeholder groups, there is no cap on how many hours they can book out the stadium for under their capped fee arrangements. So this is becoming a bit of a challenge because a lot of people are vying for space, and we want to value our clubs and provide the space for them, but also make it accessible for other user groups as well. Without being, looking too deep into the ins and outs of it all, when a user group doesn't turn up, when they have booked out the space, and we could potentially sell that space for another club to come in and use it, and there's an empty hall, it does frustrate the user groups who would like to use that space based on the capped fees of the groups that have hired it. The other thing that we found in the last few years with increasing bookings from the user groups is the capped fee doesn't change. So regardless of how many hours a booking is taken out by netball or basketball, by the end of the season, the amount is still the same. So what we'd like to propose is having a look at having a look at a different model. So what I'd like to call a hybrid model of where clubs can put in their hours that are like allocated for the course of the season at a lower rate. So for our stakeholder groups, such as basketball, netball, at a lower rate, which is then decided on and agreed upon at the beginning of the season. And then anything outside of that, of their regular hours, would also be a fee attached. So it's making it fairer for our clubs, because at the moment there is a big discrepancy between the two annual costs, and I'd like to make it so it is fairer for the other user groups who would like to use the facility as well. So we're not having no-shows for hire arrangements with that, and we can also utilise the facility better with the clubs that are currently there. Just give me 2 seconds, have a quick look at what else we put in place. So benefits of moving to a hybrid model does mean that it's clearer for everybody. It makes it a fairer arrangement, but also looking forward into the future, I understand that in the current arrangement is that by 2025, VC Mitchell Park completion, there was the completion of VC Mitchell Park. The cap fee arrangements were for 5 years after VC Mitchell Park. So the challenge we've got is preparing the clubs that are currently using that space where there is a very low cost. In 5 years' time, that's going to be gone. And then we're stuck with a very high cost. The result of that could be that the clubs have to fold, which is not what we want to see. What I want to be able to do is support the clubs and prepare them into the future to be able to utilise the facility and yet have a really good relationship and ongoing cost arrangement with them that suits them and their club and their members. So a hybrid model does support that. This isn't a surprise to the clubs that are involved. I've been having chats with them around how we could make this an easy transition. Of course, it's always going to come across as a bit of resisting at first, but they're also fully understanding that if we don't do something about it now, come 2030, it will be a huge shock and it may result in clubs folding, which is not what we want to see. Likewise, the clubs that are there they're a staple, and such as basketball, netball, they've got a lot of passion for their members and they want to keep it affordable as well. So I also want to be able to support them in that transition across as we hopefully look at you moving to a hybrid model and working with them. I'm not sure if I explained that particularly well, and I apologise, so probably better if I take questions.
Sure.
Councillor Lindemann.
Thank you, through the chair. Could you express a ballpark figure of what you're talking about? So perhaps what might be paid now, what you're looking to now charge them into the future, and what you declare is going to be excessively high by 2030 that would be quite stressful?
Yeah, sorry,
You're right.
apologies, through the chair. So currently there is about $13,500 difference in a capped fee arrangement in what is currently being paid for one of the user groups and to what is actually being costed as their hour for their season fee. So what I mean by that is the cap fee arrangement is very low, but the actual cost is $13,500 difference in what they're paying. So if we were to suddenly go, okay, you've got to pay $13,500 for their season, that would be pretty detrimental. So a capped fee arrangement works, but it doesn't quite work for the long term, particularly if we were to suddenly get rid of those fees and you suddenly charge $14K for using the facility. Does that help?
Yep. Could I,
Councillor Hall.
thank you, through the chair. Could this possibly become a confidential item? We get that granular detail of the clubs that exist and use the facility and what they pay currently and what the proposed model would look like. Could that be something that could be arranged before the
Councillor
AGM?
Hall, I think this is more an in-principle endorsement. CEO, would you?
I was just going to say, maybe to sum it up, there's been a historical decision made previously to, I guess, hold the current fees for certain users, and that was sort of in line with some decision making around the redevelopment of VC Mitchell Park. I guess what Simon's suggesting is now that the rubber's hitting the road, we want to get some in-principle support from council to open up those, formally open up those lines of communication with, I guess, the overarching principle of grandfathering and slowly clawing back some of the, I guess, the opportunity cost and some of the revenue foregone if we were to continue with the arrangement as it stands. So really, at this stage, I don't think we're going out and actually cutting the deal and talking about dollars. We're talking about the principle about equity, about providing certainty around bookings and making sure that there aren't block bookings that aren't restricting the use of that facility by other potential user groups. So it's almost like a double whammy of revenue foregone. So I think we're just at that principles at this stage. I think if indeed council does support the officer recommendation, that allows Simon and his team to go and have a chat with the stakeholders and then bring back around how this hybrid model would roll out into the future. And that's where we could get under the bonnet and have a look at some of the numbers. Yep.
Any further questions? Councillor McNabb.
So going back to the clubs and having that conversation, when are you envisaging the new fee structure coming into play?
Thank you.
Thank you, through the chairs. Yeah, so that's fee structure-wise, it's actually down to negotiation with the clubs in terms of what would be a good model to move towards. So, it's of course a hybrid model, meaning that they have the number of hours solidly booked in an agreement, and then outside of that model would be the lesser fee for any additional use of the facility. It's the model that we're currently looking at. In terms of time frame to get that done, how long's a piece of string? Sometimes to get clubs into a room is actually quite hard to get everyone into one space, but I want to make sure that it is a working relationship with the clubs. And it's not by all means that we're just going, this is the head, the be-all and end-all of what we've decided. It's got to be agreed upon. And I think that's got to be something which we look forward to in the future. It might be a case that once we get the clubs together and go, what is feasible? Is it something that we roll out over the next 5 years? But in principle, really, I want to the understanding that we'll be looking at the fees and charges and working with the clubs to come to a better arrangement so that we get a decent agreement forward.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Lindeman?
I do have a further question. I don't know if this is the place to do it, but I guess the in-principle stuff always is a concern if I'm agreeing to something I don't really know what the facts are. So I would like just a bit more information, please.
Thank you, Councillor Lindeman. Was there a question in that?
I would like more information. Could you provide that information, please?
Thank you, Councillor Lindeman.
So without stealing Mr Pepler's thunder, I don't think we're in a position to do that. I think probably going back to my response to Councillor Hall's question, we're really just wanting the mandate to start this conversation and probably building on what Simon has said, opening up the lines of dialogue and getting agreement to the principles moving forward that something needs to change because it's not sustainable moving into the future. What those numbers look like and what the hybrid model looks like and the time frame in which to be implemented, I guess that's part of the conversation that Mr Pepler and his team will bring back. So I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're not in a position and we don't have any predetermined ideas as to what those numbers could look like. It's about working collaboratively with those community groups.
Councillor Hall?
Just final question through the chair. So I guess just on that point then, I think the proposal of this item has come from somewhere, or is this come from experience at a previous place that you've worked at or have seen, or has another shire done something like this that we're kind of following that track? Where's this kind of started?
Do you want me to?
So through the chair, yeah, it actually follows a similar model to City of Bunbury and South West Sports Centre, and also Eton Rec Centre, where they've had a lot of clubs vying for space as well. And of course, time is the main thing and resources. So ensuring that it is getting a fair amount of use and also maximising that space for that use. So it is following a similar model to what is done within other shires. My experience as well has been, again, it's a bit of frustration from all sides when, like I say, there are bookings and then other user groups can't get through, and when there might be someone passing, go, well, the courts are empty because there's been no shows due to cap fees. So it's really just to get that, maximising that space. It's an amazing resource up there, so just want to make sure that the clubs and everyone else get a fair go.
Probably also through you, Chair, also consistent with some of the initiatives that were in the current council plan about, marketing council-owned facilities and assets and optimising the utilisation of those. And I think this is a really good initiative that's been raised by Mr. Pepler and his team.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Yes, please, if I
Councillor
could, through the
Lindemann.
chair. Just how many teams of netball players and basketball, which are predominantly what's using the facility, how many teams are there on how many days, that sort of thing? Do you have that sort of information that you could provide?
Through the
On
chair.
notice?
Yes. So we have, at the moment, we're moving into the netball season, which is one of our busiest seasons. So we have the Donnybrook Netball Association, we have the Donnybrook Ravens, we have the Donnybrook Football Netball Club, and we have the Southwest Jets. So that's former netball teams vying for space at peak times. We're talking times between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Wednesdays predominantly being the busiest times and the most sought after time. Historically, that's everywhere. I'm not sure what happens on a Wednesday, sports day. So there is a challenge there to try and fit all those teams in. And I have had to turn away one of the clubs because the courts have already been previously booked out for this season. And that would be a full paying club as well from outside. So again, I want to value the clubs that are stakeholder groups within the facility, but if there's opportunity to maximise that space through an agreement with other clubs, then that will certainly help.
Thank you.
Councillor Hall? Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Pepler.
Thank you.
Moving into Chief Executive Officer reports and 9.3.1, the Warren Blackwood Climate Alliance Reference Group. Are there any questions? Okay.
Maybe
Yep.
just very briefly for Councillor Kean and Councillor Ringe, this matter was originally brought up at the February OCM, I recall, and then it was resolved by council to wait till we have the full complement of councillors, so that's why it's been brought back to council. So just letting you know.
Okay, and then item 9.3.2, the Development Assessment Panel, or DAP, as we call it, membership. Any questions? Councillor Lindemann.
May I ask, please, are you looking to get names in there prior to the meeting or nominations prior, or you're going to look straight from the floor?
We could go
At
through.
the meeting,
I can
I'm just
invite
wondering.
expressions of interest before, if you like. We'll do it for both. You would like that? For the DAP and the CARG? Okay. Right. I'll do that before the OCM. And then 9.3.3, amended start times for the 2026 agenda briefing sessions and council meetings. Any questions? We've workshopped that quite well. And then 9.3.4, the appointment of panel members for the CEO Performance Review 2026. CEO, would you like to take us through that report?
Yeah, look, just very brief. I might just get Ms Farquhar to bring up the attachment. And just for noting, councillors, obviously there's a number of drivers here, including council policies, some industry standard guidelines around the appointment and recruitment and performance management of the CEO, but then also some specific clauses within my contract of employment. And just excuse me for turning my back. So what we set this process up for the current year, or for the current term. What we're looking at doing is bringing forward, because it was October to October, given to when I was first recruited back in 2024, we're looking at bringing forward the review and then also the establishment of the new KPIs to better align with our planning processes and our annual budget. So you can see there that the key dates, obviously, elected member interest in the panel. So I believe President McCarthy will send out, similar to the previous two items, an expression of interest seeking nominations from elected members to sit on the CEO's performance panel. That will then be under a clause in my contract that needs to be communicated to me, and I need to agree with those proposals, or proposed membership, which I don't foresee there being any issues. Then the report's going up to Council the 22nd of April, so that's again to adopt the agreed process, which is outlined in this attachment, and then to confirm the composition of that performance review panel members. Then moving forward, if we could just scroll down a little bit more, Sam, please. We can see some fairly tightish sort of time frames, but the CEO, I need to prepare an annual report on my KPIs in my current year performance agreement, which is publicised online. So 5th of June, then just that report then gets distributed through to council as 8th of June, collect that feedback, and then we prepare the performance appraisal report and recommended any changes to remuneration packages on the 22nd of June. Scrolling down just a little bit further, you can see that then we hit a number of other deadlines, taking us right through to the outcome of the process, which is around towards the end of July. And by that stage, Mr Young will have the budget for the next financial year adopted. So that'll help us develop KPIs for the next year as well. So we're starting to bring that alignment between our strategic planning and also our annual budget process. So happy to take any questions, councillors.
Questions? Is this a good time, given Councillor Lindeman's comment before, is we're talking about performance here, so is this a good time to talk about our audit performance? Did you want to?
If you want to do it now or at the end, it's up to you, President, your meeting. So
we'll wait till the end. We'll hold it. We'll hold it. Moving on to 9.3.5, Safe Preston River Valley, request for support for exemption to Mining Act 1978. Any questions? No. Okay, there are no elected member motions, no new business of an urgent nature, and we don't have any confidential items. So over to the CEO.
Yeah, so probably just harking back to the finance report and the question that was alluded to by Councillor Lindeman. So councillors, I'm really happy, and I've sent this email out to not only all councillors but also all the staff, including the finance staff who were instrumental in this wonderful achievement. So I'll just read the words that I sent out. So I'm delighted to share with everyone a very positive acknowledgement from the WA Auditor General, Carolyn Spencer, confirming that the Shire of Donnybrook Baling Up is one of the 2025 best practice entities for our financial reporting and financial controls. This achievement acknowledges Council's performance across a number of criteria, including a clear audit opinion, timely preparation of CEO certified financial report, high quality financial report and working papers, and maintenance of good financial management controls. So it's a great result, both from a financial performance but also having that strong financial control framework within place. The Auditor General tabled this report in Parliament today, and within that report, our Shire receives a number of honourable mentions. However, I guess I'd turn councillors and indeed those that wish to look up the report to table 3 on page 17, which shows that of the band 3 and 4 and other entities, that we were within the top 20 for our performance, not only from finance, but also that broader, that stronger control environment. Councillors, you'd be no doubt aware of some of the history and some of the concerns from external parties around our financial performance and our financial and governance controls, and it's something that would certainly continue to be somewhat of a concern with the recent market community survey. But I guess this is a tangible sign that we are well and truly on the improve when it comes to financial performance and financial governance. And it's not only us sort of singing that message, but it's coming from the Auditor General of WA. So, hats off to the team. It has been a collaborative approach through the Audit and Risk Management Committee and through the elected members as well. So I wanted to share that with you, councillors.
I'm having trouble taking the smile off my face. Thank you for that, CEO. And we'll talk more about it, I suppose. It needs to go through the audit
Through the audit,
and
yes.
risk committee first. It's the proper way to do it, and then out. All right, that brings us to a close. And I can advise that the next Ordinary Council meeting will be held on the 22nd of April 2026 at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook and Donnybrook Balingup Council Chamber.